Dear one, before we begin, I invite you just for a moment to pause. Wherever you are now, perhaps lying in bed, resting after a long day, perhaps seated quietly in your favorite chair, perhaps with headphones, seeking a gentle space amid the noise of life. Wherever you are, here you are, and here is enough. There is nothing you need to fix in this moment, nothing to prove, nothing to chase. You have already arrived, and tonight, I invite you to walk with me through a quiet reflection, a reflection on something simple, yet profound, that everything happens for a reason, not a reason of blame, not a reason of punishment or reward, but a reason woven through the great fabric of life, through causes and conditions, through the unseen threads that connect all things. You may have heard these words before. Perhaps they comforted you. Perhaps they puzzled you. Perhaps they seemed too simple for life's great complexities. And yet, when we begin to look more deeply, something shifts. We begin to see that joy and sorrow, gain and loss, coming and going, all arise within a vast dance of life, unfolding moment by moment. And when we meet life with this understanding, when we stop fighting the flow, when we release the demand to control every turn, something beautiful happens. The heart softens, the breath deepens, a quiet trust begins to bloom. Not that life becomes free of difficulty, but that we learn to dance with it, to meet each moment, pleasant or painful, with openness, curiosity, and compassion. Tonight, we will walk gently through these reflections together, not as a lesson to master, but as an invitation to soften, to listen, to be. And as you listen, you may find that your own heart remembers something it has always known, that life, in all its mystery, holds its own intelligence, that even now, in this very breath, unseen causes are moving, unseen seeds are growing, and perhaps you will find that everything, yes, even this momentous unfolding just as it needs to. So rest now. No need to try. Simply be here. Breathe. And when you are ready, we will begin. Tonight, as the world outside gently settles into its nightly rhythm, you find yourself here, perhaps lying on your bed, perhaps seated quietly in your favorite chair. The room around you is familiar, yet something about this moment feels different. There is a subtle invitation in the air, as though life itself is offering you a space to simply be. No need to solve anything now. No need to achieve or perfect. Just breathe. Take a slow breath in and let it out. Unhurried. You are about to embark on a quiet journey, not across lands or oceans, but inward, into the depths of understanding that have echoed through centuries of Buddhist wisdom. A journey without maps or timetables, one that invites you not to arrive anywhere, but to awaken gently to what already is. For tonight, we will explore a simple yet profound truth, that everything, absolutely everything, unfolds for a reason, not by the design of some distant hand, nor by arbitrary chance, but through the natural dance of causes and conditions. And as you listen, as your body relaxes and your breath finds its rhythm, you may notice something loosening within you, old knots of resistance, quiet burdens of questioning, long-held tensions of the heart. There is no need to force understanding. The teachings we'll explore are not puzzles to solve, but seeds to receive. Some may sprout immediately. Others may lie dormant until just the right season. Your only task is to rest here, present. As each word flows past like water in a gentle stream, you may close your eyes now, or let them soften. Notice the sensations of where you are, the texture beneath you, the air on your skin, the sounds around you. Even now, in this ordinary moment, myriad causes and conditions converge. The warmth of your blanket, the craftsmanship of your chair, the song of distant crickets, the countless moments that brought you to this night, to this very listening. In Buddhist understanding, this is called dependent origination praticca samutpadathe, truth that nothing arises independently. Every experience, every thought, every breath is the unfolding of countless interwoven factors. You are not a separate observer of this life. You are life itself, arising moment by moment through this intricate web. Perhaps your day has been full. Perhaps you carry the weight of unresolved things, unfinished tasks, unanswered questions, lingering worries. It is natural. In this human life, the mind so often reaches forward or backward, seeking to grasp what is not yet here or to hold what has already passed. But tonight, you are invited to rest in the middle between past and future, between effort and surrender. Let each exhale be a small letting go. You may imagine now a path stretching before you, winding gently upward through a landscape of quiet hills. There is no hurry. With each step, the noise of the everyday fades a little more. The path leads toward a simple monastery, nestled high in the mountains, a place beyond time, where the air is crisp with pine and incense, where wisdom hums softly beneath the surface of things. As you approach this place in your mind's eye, you might sense a deep stillness awaiting you. Not the stillness of emptiness, but the fertile stillness of presence, the kind that allows things to be seen clearly, without judgment or haste. A wooden gate creaks gently as you enter. The courtyard is bathed in the soft glow of lantern light. Around you, simple stone paths weave through carefully tended gardens. Somewhere a bell sounds, its tone reverberating like a ripple through your awareness. You feel your body responding, breath slowing, shoulders softening, a quiet readiness unfolding. An elder monk appears, his presence calm and unhurried. He greets you not with words, but with a simple gesture, a nod, a slight bow. No grand ceremony. No special welcome. Just this moment, shared. He beckons, inviting you to walk with him through the monastery grounds. As you follow, your senses awaken. The scent of cedar and earth, the texture of worn wooden floors beneath your feet, the hush of robes brushing softly as monks move about their evening duties. There is a rhythm here, a way of being that is both grounded and spacious, a way of living that honors the truth of impermanence, that all things arise, abide, and pass in their own time. The monk leads you to a small pavilion overlooking a valley shrouded in mist. You sit together in silence, gazing into the depths beyond. After some time, his voice enters the space, warm and steady. Many who come here, he says softly, are searching for why life unfolds as it does, for why joy is fleeting, why sorrow visits unbidden, why suffering seems to find even those with the kindest hearts. You feel the truth of these words in your own chest, the quiet ache of wondering, the longing for clarity. He continues, but perhaps the question is not why suffering exists, but how we might come to understand it, how we might live with open hearts amid the changing tides of experience. For in this life, everything arises from causes and conditions. Nothing is random, and in seeing this clearly, We find freedom not from difficulty itself, but from the added suffering of resistance. The breeze stirs around you, carrying the faint scent of jasmine. You notice how even this moment, this listening, this breathes, shaped by countless unseen forces, the life of the stars that birthed the elements of your body, the choices of ancestors and parents, the turns of fate that placed you here, now, in this unfolding. And so, dear one, as the night deepens and your body grows heavier with the pull of rest, allow yourself to receive what comes, not as doctrine or dogma, but as the gentle rain of insight. There is no need to grasp, no need to judge. Simply be here, breathing, resting, listening. The journey of understanding has already begun. You rise slowly from the pavilion bench, feet finding the cool stone path once more. The elder monk gestures gently, inviting you to follow him deeper into the monastery grounds. The night air is crisp now, each breath drawing in the scent of pine and distant rain. You walk in silence, footsteps soft against the earth. The path winds through a narrow corridor of bamboo. Each slender stalk sways with the faintest breeze, whispering its own quiet language. Overhead, a sliver of moon peeks through drifting clouds. The monk walks with steady grace, robes moving fluidly with each step. His presence feels both grounded and light, as if he carries no extra weight of worry or self. At last, the bamboo thins, revealing a small meditation hall. The doors are crafted of aged wood, their grain polished, smooth by countless hands. A simple lantern hangs above the entrance, its glow warm and inviting. The monk pauses before the threshold, turning to meet your gaze. In this place, he says softly, many have sat, just as you will now, not to escape life, but to see it more clearly. With that, he slides open the door. The space within is spare smooth wooden floors, cushions arranged in gentle order, walls adorned with faded scrolls bearing calligraphy. The scent of sandalwood lingers in the air, grounding you further. You take a seat upon one of the cushions, noticing the subtle sensation of fabric beneath you, the alignment of your spine, the flow of breath. The monk settles nearby, legs folded with effortless ease. For a moment, there is only quiet, the kind of quiet that holds everything. Then, in a voice as calm as still water, he begins. You have come seeking, he says. Has somanido, seeking to understand why life unfolds with such apparent mystery, why joy and sorrow seem to dance without pattern, why even the kindest heart is not spared difficulty. You nod, feeling the truth of this in your chest. The monk's eyes rest upon you, kind and unhurried. In the teachings of the Buddha, he continues, we do not speak of chance or fate. Rather, we see that all things arise through causes and conditions. This is the nature of reality, what we call dependent origination. He pauses, allowing the words to settle. Consider this breath, he says, drawn in now. It does not exist on its own. It is made possible by the air, by your body, by the life that flows within you. Without lungs, no breath. Without breath, no life. Each depends upon the other. So it is with all things. A soft wind stirs the lantern above, casting gentle shadows across the floor. The monk's gaze drifts momentarily, as though watching the dance of light itself. Yet it is human nature. He continues, to forget this truth. We imagine ourselves as separate, as singular beings acting in isolation. We believe that life should unfold according to our wishes, and when it does not, we suffer. You feel an ache of recognition. How often have you clung to plans, to expectations, to a vision of how things should be? The monk smiles gently, as if sensing your thoughts. This forgetting is the root of much sorrow, he says, but to remember to see again the web of causes and conditions is to soften the heart, to release the grip of control, and he rises slowly, motions for you to follow. Together, you move to a side door leading into an open courtyard. The night sky stretches wide above, stars scattered like ancient prayers across the velvet expanse. In the center of the courtyard, a small fountain trickles. Water flows over worn stones, its sound a steady rhythm in the stillness. The monk kneels beside it, picking up a smooth pebble. He holds it out to you. Take this, he says softly. You accept it, feeling its cool weight in your palm. Now, place it in the water, he instructs. You do so, releasing the pebble into the pool. Ripples spread outward, concentric circles shimmering in the moonlight. Watch, the monk says. You do. The ripples move across the surface, touching stone and edge, fading gradually into stillness. This is karma, the monk explains. Not reward, not punishment, but the natural unfolding of action. Every thought, every word, every deed sends ripples through the vast ocean of existence. End quote. You watch the last ripple dissolve. It is tempting to think, he continues, that actions vanish once done, but nothing truly disappears. The energy we release through kindness or cruelty, through compassion or fear, continues, touching lives seen and unseen. A soft breeze moves through the courtyard. Leaves whisper overhead. Many who suffer, the monk says, ask, why me? What have I done to deserve this? But karma is not so simple. The web of causes stretches beyond what we can perceive through this life, and many before. To judge a moment without seeing its full tapestry is like trying to understand the sea from a single drop. And if he looks to you, his gaze steady, more important than tracing the past, he says, is seeing the present. For in this moment, you hold the power to plant new seeds. Each choice, each breath can be a cause for wisdom, for peace, for awakening. And if you feel the pebble's absence in your hand, its presence now part of the water's flow, the monk rises, motioning once more. You follow him along a stone path lined with lanterns. The air grows cooler as you walk. Around you, the monastery rests in deep quiet, as if the walls themselves are breathing. At last, you reach a small garden, moonlight silvering the leaves, casting delicate patterns upon the earth. The monk seats himself on a low bench, inviting you to do the same. You may ask, he says softly, if all is cause and effect, do we have any freedom? The question hovers, mirroring your unspoken thoughts. Our freedom, he continues, lies not in controlling the web, but in choosing how we meet it. We cannot change the winds, but we can adjust our sails. In this moment, this breath, we can choose presence over distraction, kindness over harm, wisdom over ignorance. End quote. His voice is a quiet thread weaving through the night. This is the practice, he says, not to master life, but to meet it skillfully, to see the arising of conditions, and to respond with clarity. End quote. A long pause. The sound of the fountain drifts faintly from the courtyard beyond. You are already practicing, the monk says gently, simply by being here, by listening, by allowing these truths to touch you. The words settle deep within, not as commandment, but as invitation. In this garden, beneath the endless sky, something shifts, a loosening, a softening. You are not separate from the stream of life. You are part of its flow. It's unfolding, and as you sit here, breath steady, heart open, you sense it, the beginning of understanding, a knowing that in this vast web, nothing is wasted, that every moment, every meeting, every challenge carries meaning. If you have the eyes to see, the monk smiles, as if reading your quiet realization. Rest now, he says softly. Tomorrow we will continue. You rise with him, steps lighter than before. The path leads back toward your room, where the candle still burns low. As you prepare for rest, the monk's words echo gently. Everything happens for a reason, not by fate, not by chance, but through the unfolding of causes and conditions. And in seeing this, we find the doorway to freedom. And you lie down, breath slowing, the teachings settling like mist upon your heart. Sleep comes easily, carried on the current of understanding. The soft chime of a distant bell stirs you from sleep. Morning light, pale and tentative, filters through the paper windows of your simple room. For a moment, you lie still, letting the sensations of waking rise, naturally cool air against your skin, the firm support of the mat beneath you, the gentle rhythm of your breath. You remember the elder monk's words from the night before. Everything happens for a reason. In seeing this, we find freedom. The teaching lingers, not as a thought to grasp, but as a quiet presence within. You rise slowly, performing the simple acts of washing and dressing with deliberate care. The cold water on your face sharpens your senses, anchoring you in the immediacy of this moment. Outside, the monastery hums with soft activity monks moving silently along stone paths, their robes whispering with each step. As you step into the courtyard, the elder monk awaits, a slight smile on his face. "Good morning," he says softly. "Did you sleep well?" You nod, feeling an unfamiliar ease in your body. "Come, hey gestuurus, let us walk, Amsal, together." You move through the monastery grounds. The sun climbs slowly, casting long shadows across the garden. Each detail seems heightened, the glistening dew on leaves, the scent of earth warmed by the day's first light. The monk speaks as you walk. Many believe that spiritual practice happens only on the cushion, he says, in meditation halls, during formal teachings, but this is not so. Practice lives in each moment, in the simplest of acts. End of creed. He pauses by a small gate, sliding it open to reveal a path lined with stepping stones. This morning, we will explore mindfulness, he continues, not as an idea, but as a living experience. End of creed. You follow him through the gate. The path winds gently beneath arching branches, The sound of your footsteps on stone merges with the soft rustle of leaves. Mindfulness, the monk explains, is the art of being fully present, of inhabiting this moment, completely not lost in thoughts of past or future, not pulled by desire or aversion, but here, now. Oh, he pauses, turning to face you. Most people live in a trance of doing, he says, rushing from one task to the next, minds elsewhere, bodies on autopilot. They eat without tasting, walk without noticing, speak without truly listening. And so, life passed by unlived, unnoticed. Hesblank, his words land with quiet clarity. You think of your own life, the hurried meals, the distracted conversations, the endless cycle of busyness. But when we bring mindfulness to each act, the monk continues, even the most ordinary moment becomes extraordinary. Hesblank, he gestures to the path. Let us walk. Then, he says, not to arrive anywhere, but to experience walking itself. You begin again. This time slower, the monk guides you to feel each step, the lifting of the foot, the movement through space, the contact with the earth. You notice the shifting balance of your body, the subtle play of muscles and joints. At first, your mind resists thoughts arising, pulling you away, but the monk's presence grounds you. With each breath, you return, step, step, step. The world narrows to this simple rhythm. In time, something shifts. The walk becomes not a means to an end, but an unfolding in itself. Each sensation sharpens the texture of stone, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the cool breath of morning air. Do you see? The monk asks softly. When we are fully here, life reveals its depth. Ensot, you nod. Words unnecessary. The path leads to a small dining hall. Within, low tables and cushions are arranged in simple order. Other monks enter, moving with deliberate grace. No chatter, no ruffianly presence. You are guided to a place at the table. Before you, a simple meal is laida, bowl of rice, steamed vegetables, a cup of tea. The elder monk takes his seat beside you. Before we eat, he says, we pause. We reflect on all that has made this meal possible. End of quote. A moment of silence follows. The monk's voice then flows gently. Consider the seed that sprouted, the sun that warmed it, the rain that nourished it, the hands that planted, tended, harvested, the many journeys that brought this food to your bowl. End of quote. You gaze at the meal anew. What was mere food now shimmers with unseen interconnections. When we see this, the monk continues. Gratitude arises naturally. We eat not with entitlement, but with reverence. And he lifts his bowl with both hands, a small bow of thanks. You follow, the gesture feeling both humble and whole. As the meal begins, you notice the monk's mindful, rhythmic movement, precise, unhurried. No one speaks. The hall holds a palpable stillness. You take your first bite slowly, fully tasting the rice. Its texture, warmth, subtle flavor unfold in your mouth. Each chew becomes an exploration. The vegetables, too, reveal layers of taste once unnoticed. Eating thus, you realize how often you have consumed meals absent-mindedly, missing the simple wonder of nourishment. Mindfulness transforms even this. The monk whispers, from mere eating to communion with life. The meal concludes with a quiet ritual, each bowl carefully cleaned. No grain wasted. Even the rinse water is returned to the earth. Nothing is discarded. The monk says, all is part of the cycle. End of flash. Afterward, he invites you to a small garden for tea. The space is intimate stone lanterns, a wooden bench, the soft murmur of water nearby. He prepares the tea with care, heating the water, rinsing the leaves, pouring with measured grace. Tea, he says, like life, invites us to presence. End of flash. You receive the cup with both hands, feeling its warmth. The aroma rises earthy, subtle. You sip slowly, tasting its layers. Most rush through such moments. The monk observes, but here lies the heart of practice, to be fully with what is. The tea ceremony unfolds in silence, each gesture imbued with mindful attention. The world narrows to this simple exchange: cup, breath, warmth, awareness. As the session concludes, the monk speaks softly. When we live this way, he says, even the simplest acts become sacred. Walking, eating, drinking tea reveal the miracle of the present moment. He meets your gaze. Mindfulness, he continues, is not reserved for temples. It belongs to life itself. Wherever you are, whatever you do, this presence is available. You feel the truth of this not as concept, but as lived experience. The sun climbs higher now, casting dappled light through the garden. Come, the monk says, rising. There is more to see. You follow. Steps lighter, heart more open. The path ahead shimmers not with grandeur, but with the quiet promise that every moment, when met with full awareness, holds the doorway to peace. And so, the journey continues. The morning sun now bathes the monastery grounds in soft gold. After the tea ceremony, the elder monk leads you along a winding path that ascends gently toward a quiet part of the temple complex. The sounds of daily life fade with each step, the distant murmur of voices, the soft sweep of brooms, until only the rhythmic crunch of your own footsteps remains. You arrive at a small hall open on three sides to the surrounding garden. Within, a circle of cushions rests on polished wooden floors. The space exudes a calm stillness, as if it has absorbed generations of silent contemplation. Here, the monk says softly, we will explore the landscape of the heart. End quote. He gestures for you to sit. The cushion welcomes your body with a firm, grounded embrace. The monk takes his place across from you, spine straight, presence unwavering. For many, he begins, the greatest source of suffering lies not in external events, but in how we meet the waves of emotion that arise within. End of quote. You nod, an ache of recognition stirring. How often have you felt trapped in storms of anger, sadness, fear, unable to find stillness amid their pull? The teachings do not ask us to suppress these waves, the monk continues, nor to drown in them, but to see them clearly. Asposing phenomena, born of conditions. He pauses, letting the words settle. Close your eyes now, if you wish. He invites, we will practice together. You comply, the outer world softening into darkness. The monk's voice guides you gently inward. Begin by resting your attention on the breath. He says, feel its natural rhythm, no need to change it. Simply notice. In, you follow, tracing the cool in-breath, the warm out-breath. The simple act draws you deeper into presence. Now, the monk continues, bring to mind a recent experience that stirred discomfort and argument, a disappointment, a fear, a hesitation arises. Part of you resists who wishes to revisit pain, but you trust the monk's guidance. Slowly, you recall a harsh word exchanged with a loved one. Its echo still tender in your chest. Notice what arises. The monk says, where in the body do you feel this? You scan inward. A tightness coils in your throat. A heaviness settles in your chest. Good. The monk affirms. Now, rather than turning away, rest your attention gently upon these sensations. No judgment. No need to analyze. Simply feel. At first, the instinct to flee flares, the body tenses. Breath shortens, but the monk's steady voice anchors you. See these sensations as waves, he says, arising, peaking, passing. They are not who you are. They are experiences moving through awareness. End of tree. Gradually, something shifts. The tightness begins to soften, its edges less defined. The heaviness remains, but with space around it no longer suffocating. Notice the thoughts that accompany the feeling. The monk guides, stories the mind tells, blame, regret, fear, and from what? Indeed, thoughts swirl. I was wrong. I should have said. What if? You observe them as clouds drifting through the sky of mind, not truths. But transient patterns. Each thought, each sensation, the monk continues, arises from conditions, past experiences, beliefs, habitual patterns. None appear from nowhere. And from what? This understanding brings unexpected relief. The emotion is not a personal flaw, not a permanent stain. It is a process, unfolding and changing. Stay with this awareness. The monk says softly, with kindness toward yourself. There is nothing to fix, nothing to force away, only to see clearly. And two, you rest in this open noticing. The waves of sensation ebb and flow, tightness returns, then recedes. Thoughts arise, dissolve. Breath remains the anchor. Time looses, meaning there is only this unfolding. After a while, the monk's voice returns. Now, he says, bring your awareness to the space around the emotion. Notice how even within difficulty, there is still breath, still presence. Oh, yes, you do. The emotion, once all-consuming, now floats in a vast field of awareness, not gone, but no longer overwhelming. This is freedom, the monk whispers, not the absence of emotion, but the capacity to hold it with spaciousness, with compassion. Oh, gently, he invites you to open your eyes. The hall shimmers with quiet light. The garden beyond sways in a breeze. You feel lighter, not emptied of feeling, but unburdened. The monk regards you with warmth. You see, he says, when we meet emotion with mindfulness, we are no longer its captive. We become its witness. He pauses. This does not mean we cease to feel. He continues. To be human is to feel deeply, But through awareness, we loosen the grip of reactivity. We allow life to move through us, rather than being swept away. It's scribe. You reflect on times when anger has led to harsh words, when sadness has hardened into withdrawal. How different those moments might have unfolded with this spacious seeing. The monk rises, beckoning you to walk with him. As you move through the garden, he speaks. Most suffering arises not from what happens, but from how we resist what happens. He says, an emotion arises, we push it away or cling to it. In that struggle, suffering is born. It's scribe. He stops by a lotus pond, leaves shimmer. Blooms unfold toward the sun. Consider the lotus. He says, it does not resist the mud from which it grows, nor grasp at the sun. It simply arises, each petal opening in its own time. He meets your gaze, so it can be with us. He continues, when anger arises, we can meet it with curiosity. When sadness visits, with gentleness, we cease to battle life, and instead, dance with its flow. You watch a dragonfly land, wings iridescent in the light. Such fragile beauty, appearing and passing. The monk smiles. Emotions, he says, are like weather clouds. Rain, sun, none define the sky. They come and go. The sky remains. End of 20. You feel this truth resonate a spaciousness within, larger than any single feeling. He leads you back toward the hall. Remember, he says as you walk, this practice is not for monasteries alone. In the marketplace, in the home, amid life's tumults there. 2. You can pause, breathe, witness, all lie. You think of moments to come, meetings, conversations, challenges. How might they shift if met with this presence? The monk pauses at the threshold. When next an emotion stirs, he says gently, ask, can I meet this with curiosity, with compassion, with the understanding that it, too, arises from causes and will pass with conditions? You bow in gratitude, heart fuller, mind clearer. As you return to your room, the sky overhead vast and bright. A quiet knowing settles. You are not your anger. You are not your sorrow. You are the awareness in which they arise and pass. And in this awareness lies freedom. The afternoon light softens as you walk once more with the elder monk. The sun drifts lower, casting long shadows across the monastery grounds. The rhythm of the day has slowed, inviting deeper reflection. The monk leads you toward a quiet garden tucked behind the main Hala place apart, where the world seems to hold its breath. Stone lanterns rest among moss-covered rocks. The air is cool, touched with the scent of cedar and earth. He gestures to a wooden bench beneath an old pine tree. You sit together, the hush of the garden wrapping around you. For many, the monk begins, voice low and steady. Even with mindfulness, there remains a habit difficult to release. You listen, breath slow, body at ease. The habit of judgment, he says, of dividing life into good and bad, fortune and misfortune, success and failure. A wry smile touches his lips. It is a very human habit. He continues, we seek certainty, order. We wish to know, is this event good for me or bad? Is this person right or wrong? And yet, life rarely fits such neat categories. You feel the resonance of these words. How often has your mind rushed to label an experience, to assign meaning too soon? The monk looks toward the swaying branches above. There is a story, he says, an old one, but worth hearing again. Oh, you settle more deeply, sensing the space widen around his words. Once, the monk begins. There was a farmer who lived on the edge of a small village. He was known as a kind and humble man. He worked his land with diligence, content with simple things. The monk pauses, letting the image take shape. One day, the farmer's horse ran away. When the neighbors heard, they came to offer sympathy. Such bad luck, they said. The monk's eyes glint with quiet humor. The farmer replied, maybe. End quote. A small smile touches your lips. The monk continues. The next morning, the horse returned, bringing with it 3 wild horses from the hills. The neighbors exclaimed, "Such good fortune again." The farmer replied, "Maybe." The wind stirs the pine needles, their gentle rustle, a living accompaniment. Later that week, the monk goes on, the farmer's son tried to tame one of the wild horses. He was thrown and broke his leg. The neighbors came once more. "Such misfortune," they said. "Nah, again." The farmer replied, "Maybe." The monk's voice flows like a stream. Soon after, soldiers arrived in the village to conscript young men for war. Seeing the son's broken leg, they passed him by. Okay, the neighbors, amazed, declared, "Such good fortune." And again, the farmer replied, "Maybe." And the story ends, leaving a spacious silence in its wake. The monk lets it linger, allowing you to breathe its meaning. At last, he speaks. "Do you see?" he asks gently. The farmer did not rush to judgment. He understood what so many forget, that no event stands alone, that what seems good today may reveal unforeseen hardship, and what seems bad may bring hidden blessings. Okay, you reflect on this. How often have you labeled moments in your life? This is a failure. This is a success, only to see them transform with time. The monk continues. In truth, he says, life is like a vast tapestry. Each thread weaves through countless others. To judge the pattern from a single strand is folly. Oh, he pauses, watching the shifting play of sunlight on the garden stones. When we grasp this, he says softly, we loosen the grip of certainty. We meet each moment with openness, not with rigid expectation. A dragonfly darts past, its wings catching the light there, then gone. This is not passivity. The monk adds, reading your thought. It is wisdom. It is to act without attachment to outcomes, to remain grounded amid life's inevitable changes. He looks to you, gaze steady. Tell me, he says, can you think of a time when life surprised you, when what seemed a loss became a gift? Or what seemed a gift brought unforeseen challenge? The question stirs memory. You recall a job you once lost a blow at the time, filled with shame and uncertainty. Yet, in its wake, new paths opened, skills honed, connections forged, a life more aligned than before. You share this quietly. The monk nods, a knowing glimmer in his eyes. Yes, he says, so it is. Again and again. End of quote. He lets the silence breathe between you. This is why, he continues, when difficulty arises. We can ask not, "Why is this happening to me?" but, "What is this teaching me?" And when joy visits, we can savor it without clinging, knowing it too will change. End of quote. The garden seems to shimmer with this truth, each leaf trembling with impermanence. To live thus, the monk says, is to dance with life, not to fight it. End of quote. A deep breath fills your chest, the weight of striving, of needing to get it right, eases. The monk rises, robes flowing softly. "Come," he says, "let us walk." Oh, you follow, the path winding beneath towering trees. As you move, his voice continues. Every moment, he says, invites us to release judgment, to meet life freshly, without the burden of good or bad. And he pauses by a small stream, its water clear and cool. "Watch the water," he says. "It does not resist the stones. It flows, adapting to each contour." And all, he kneels, trailing his fingers in the current. "So can we," he says softly, when the mind releases its grasp. When we let go of the compulsion to label, life flows through us with grace. And all, you watch the stream, its ripples dancing over rock and root. The monk looks to you. "This," he says, "is the heart of non-judgment, not to deny the waves of feeling, but to hold them lightly, to trust the unfolding, moment by moment." And all, a bird calls from the canopy above a clear, bright note. You feel its echo within a spaciousness opening as you walk back toward the main hall. The monk offers a final reflection. "Remember the farmer?" he says, and his simple wisdom. Maybe when life surprises you, it surely will pause. Breathe. Allow the story to unfold. Aloof, he smiles, a gentle twinkle in his gaze. For often, he says, what seems an ending is but the seed of a beginning. Aloof, the sun dips lower, painting the sky in hues of gold and rose. And as you return to your room, the story lingers, a quiet companion, a reminder to meet life not with grasping, but with the grace of openness. Morning unfolds gently over the monastery. The first light of dawn filters through the paper windows of your room. You wake slowly, breath deepening, body aware of the cool air, the firm mat beneath you. There is a stillness, within a sense of spaciousness you had not known before coming here. The teachings of the past days echo softly. Everything happens for a reason arising from causes and conditions. Unfolding moment by moment, you sit up, spine straight, taking 3 conscious breaths as the elder monk had taught. The simplicity of this act grounds you, a thread of presence woven into the fabric of waking life. Outside, the monastery stirs. Monks move with quiet purposes, sweeping stone paths, tending the gardens, preparing the morning meal. There is a harmony in their movements, an ease born of living fully in each moment. Soon, your teacher appears at your door. His presence is steady as the mountains surrounding this place. Today, he says with a gentle smile, you return to your world. The words land softly. A part of you feels ready. Another part hesitates. Can this clarity, this spaciousness, truly be carried into the busy rhythms of daily life? Sensing your thought, the monk speaks. Remember, he says, the monastery is not a place apart, but a mirror What you see here, the stillness. The mindfulness is not confined to these walls. It is the nature of awareness itself. You can meet any moment with this same presence. He gestures for you to walk with him. Together, you ascend a familiar path, leading once more to the high viewpoint overlooking the valley. The air is cool, touched with the scent of pine. The path winds through shadow and light. Each step a small meditation. At the summit, you sit side by side on the stone bench. Before you, the landscape stretches wide villages nestled among fields, rivers winding through forests, roads tracing unseen journeys. This is your life, the monk says softly, not separate from the teachings, but their very ground. Amen. He lets the words settle. In the coming days, he continues, you will face many conditions, busy streets, demanding work, conversations that stir emotion. It is natural. The mind will try to grasp, to judge, to resist. But remember, each moment is an opportunity. He pauses, gaze resting on the distant valley. When difficulty arises, he says, Pause, breathe, ask, what conditions have given rise to this? What can I learn? How can I respond with clarity and compassion? You take in his words, sensing their practical power. Already, memories of past frustrations flicker traffic jams, harsh words, moments of overwhelm. How different they might feel if met with this spacious awareness. The monk continues. Similarly, he says, when joy arises, small pleasures, unexpected kindness, savor them fully. Without clinging, know that they too are the fruit of causes, fleeting and precious. He smiles gently. In this way, he says, you live not in resistance to life, but in harmony with its flow. A bird soars across the sky, riding unseen currents. You watch, the simplicity of its flight, mirroring the teaching. The monk rises. Come, he says, let us prepare. You walk back through the monastery grounds. The air hums with the quiet activity of the morning. Each monk you pass offers a slight boa gesture of presence, of shared practice. In your room, you gather your few belongings. The act itself feels different, more mindful, more connected. Each item, each fold of cloth, carries the memory of these days. When all is ready, the monk meets you once more. He hands you a simple bracelet of wooden beads. This, he says, is a reminder, not of me, nor of this place, but of your own capacity to meet life with awareness. He holds your gaze whenever you notice it. He says, Pause, take one conscious breath. Remember, everything arises through conditions. Nothing is random. Nothing is wasted. You bow deeply, gratitude welling within. Together, you walk to the monastery gate. The path beyond stretches down toward the valley, toward the rhythms of everyday life. At the threshold, the monk offers parting words. As you return, he says, do not seek to preserve the monastery within you. Instead, allow the teachings to flow naturally into your life. In each breath, each step, each encounter, the path continues. End of place, he bows. A gesture of blessing. You bow in return, heart full. As you descend the mountain path, the world opens around you. Each footfall on earth, each sound of wind and trees feels vivid, alive. The teachings are not distant. They are here, in this very moment. Soon, the village comes into view. Life stirs, children laughing, merchants setting out wares, voices rising and falling in the morning air. You move among them with new eyes. A merchant's hurried words, once a trigger for irritation, now a ripple of human conditioning. The cries of children, once dismissed as noise, now the bright expression of life unfolding. Even the uneven path beneath your feet, once unnoticed, now a dance of body and earth. At a small tea shop, you pose, the warmth of the cup in your hands, the aroma rising. The simple act of drinking all become a meditation, and when a minor frustration arises, a delay, a curt tone, you remember? Pause. Breathe. Notice the conditions. Respond with awareness. The elder monk's voice echoes within. Freedom lies not in controlling life, but in meeting it wisely. Ender, as the day unfolds, the teachings walk with you not as rigid rules, but as living presence. The traffic of the city, the press of obligations, the flow of conversational are part of the path. And in each moment, you carry this knowing, everything happens for a reason. Every experience offers a teaching. Every breath is an opportunity to awaken. Thus, the true journey begins not in the monastery, but here, amid the vibrant, imperfect, ever-changing dance of life. The journey home unfolds quietly. The rhythm of travel, a small bus winding through mountain roads, the hum of the city train, the familiar streets of your own neighborhood feels different now. Each sound, each face, each small moment carries an echo of the teachings. When you step through the door of your home, the space feels both familiar and subtly altered. The furniture, the photographs on the wall, the ordinary objects of daily life all seem to shimmer with the quiet truth you now carry. Everything arises from causes and conditions. Nothing is random. Nothing is wasted. You take 3 conscious breaths, just as the elder monk had taught, grounding yourself in this new beginning. In the days that follow, life resumes its usual pace, but beneath the surface, something has changed. On your first morning back at work, the inbox is overflowing. Meetings stack one after another. Familiar pressures press in. The mind stirs. How will I manage? There is too much. But then pause. A breath. The bracelet on your wrist catches the light. A gentle reminder. These conditions, too, arise from causes. This moment is not a mistake, not an enemy. It is simply life unfolding. With this, a subtle shift occurs. The overwhelm softens. You open the first email not with hurried resentment, but with mindful presence. Words on a screen text, born of countless interactions, systems, intentions. A colleague speaks sharply during a meeting. The old pattern might have responded with defensiveness, irritation, but now pause. A breath. What conditions give rise to this tone? Perhaps unseen stress, fatigue, unmet needs. Compassion arises where judgment once lived. Your response comes more gently, diffusing tension rather than feeding it. At home, familiar dynamics unfold. A family member voices a long-standing complaint, a pattern you've heard many times. The body tenses, the mind prepares a retort. But again, pause. breath. This pattern, too, is conditioned. They're words, my reactional part of an intricate web of experience. You listen differently now, not to agree or disagree, but to truly hear, and in that spacious listening, something shifts. The old cycle of argument falters. A new possibility emerges, even in the smallest acts. Mindfulness weaves its quiet thread. Washing dishes. You feel the warm water, the smooth curve of each bowl. Walking to the market. You notice the rhythm of your steps, the play of light on the pavement, waiting in traffic, rather than resenting the delay. You observe the flow of vehicles, each driver carrying their own unseen world of causes and conditions. One evening, an unexpected challenge arises. A project you had poured effort into collapses due to forces beyond your control. The mind surges. Why now? Why me? But then pause. Breath. This, too, arises from conditions. What can I learn? How might this open new paths? The sting of disappointment remains. Feelings are not denied, but beneath them flows a deeper trust that even this moment holds meaning. If met with wisdom, gradually, you notice something profound. You are no longer living at the mercy of circumstances. Joy and sorrow still arise. Success and setbacks still visit, but they do not sweep you away as before. Each is seen as part of the great unfolding, neither clung to nor pushed away. Relationships deepen. Conversations become more spacious, less driven by unconscious patterns. You find yourself listening more, reacting less. Simple moments shine more brightly, a shared laugh, the scent of rain on pavement, the feel of breath moving in and out. One afternoon, walking through a busy park, a scene unfolds that crystallizes the teaching. A child falls, scrapes a knee, bursts into tears. The parent rushes over, at first frustrated, scolding, "Why weren't you careful?" Then, seeing the child's fear, softens, kneels, embraces, soothes. You watch, heart open. In this small moment, the dance of causes and conditions is visible. Fear, giving rise to anger, then compassion, transforming the moment. You smile gently. Life, unfolding. Later, a friend confides a difficulty, relationship struggles, self-doubt, regret. Once, you might have rushed to fix, to offer advice. Now, you listen fully, holding space. When the friend asks, "Why does this keep happening?" you pose. Meet their gaze. Everything arises from conditions. You say softly, "Sometimes the patterns are deep, unseen. But even now, new seeds can be planted." The friend breathes deeply, shoulders easing. A glimmer of hope replaces despair. As weeks pass, the practice becomes more natural, not something to apply, but a way of being. Of course, challenges still arise. Moments of reactivity, of forgetting. The mind falls into old grooves. But now, even this is met with kindness. Forgetting, too, is a condition. The path is not perfection, but continual remembering. On such a day, tired, overwhelmed, snapping at a loved one, you catch yourself. Pause. Breath. Here is old habit. No need for blame. Simply see. Begin again. You apologize sincerely. reconnecting with presence. In this, you glimpse a deeper truth. The teachings are not a shield against life's storms. They are a way to dance with them. One quiet evening, you sit with a cup of tea, reflecting. The elder monk's words return. Everything happens for a reason. Every moment offers a teaching. You see it now not as abstract philosophy, but living truth. The rush of daily life, the tender ache of loss, the joy of connectional threads in the great tapestry. The world is not a problem to solve, but a mystery to meet with open heart. You sip the tea, feeling its warmth spread through your body. This sip, this breath, this moment arising through infinite causes. Here, now, and so, the journey continues not in the still halls of a monastery, but here, amid dishes and deadlines, laughter and tears, you smile softly. A quiet knowing within. The path is everywhere. The practice is life itself. And every moment is an opportunity to awaken. Days turn into weeks. The rhythms of life unfold: work, deadlines, family gatherings, unexpected joys, inevitable sorrows. You walk through it all with a quieter heart now. Yet the practice continues to deepen. One morning, as rain streaks the window pane, you sit with a warm cup of tea, watching the patterns of water slide down the glass. The mind drifts, memories surface. Plaisir. Small anxieties tug. A familiar thought arises. If only things were different. If only this person understood me better. If only this project succeeded faster. If only. You catch it midstream. Smile gently. Pause. Breathe. Here it is. Again, the mind's old habit of resistance, of wishing life to conform to its preferences. The elder monk's teaching returns. Freedom lies not in controlling life, but in meeting it wisely. You reflect how much of life's suffering arises not from what happens, but from the refusal to accept what is. The rain should stop. My body should not ache. This person should act differently. Life should be fair, predictable, comfortable. But life, you have learned, unfolds according to its own vast web of causes and conditions, many far beyond your view or control. When the heart fights this truth, suffering deepens. When the heart opens to it, a new ease emerges. You recall a conversation with the monk, now vivid in memory. Many come seeking to make life go their way. He had said, but this is like trying to command the wind. We cannot stop the storms, but we can learn to sail. Oh, he had smiled, eyes twinkling. Acceptance is not passivity. He'd continued. It is the wisdom of seeing things clearly, of working with conditions as they are, not as we wish them to be. Oh, the rain outside intensifies. Its rhythms steady and soothing. You sip your tea slowly. How often have you struggled against what could not be changed, lost sleep over a word already spoken? Is a past choice, another's actions, an illness, a setback. In that resistance, the mind had clenched, the heart had hardened. But when acceptance, arisasa true, embodied yes to reality, as it is something loosens, space opens. Even in pain, there is peace. You think of a recent experience. A long-anticipated project had faltered. Despite your best efforts, despite care, and intention. Forces beyond your reach had shifted the outcome. The initial reaction had been familiar frustration, disappointment, blame, but then pause, breath. What are the conditions, you had asked yourself? What can be learned? How can I meet this now? In that moment, acceptance arose, not resignation, but clarity. You saw the web of factors, economic shifts, timing, human limitations. No villain, no injustice imply. Life unfolding with acceptance, energy freed. Instead of ruminating, you turned to what could be done next with a steadier heart. And in time, new opportunities emerged, unseen when the mind had been tangled in resistance. Now, as rain drums gently on the roof, you feel the depth of this teaching. Acceptance is not giving up. It is ceasing to war with reality. It is saying, this is how things are now. What is the wise response? In this spirit, you move through the day. When traffic snarls, instead of fuming, you breathe. Notice the sky, the faces around you, humans like you, caught in the web of causes. When a colleague misses a deadline, instead of reacting with harshness, you pause. Consider unseen pressures they might carry. Speak with clarity, but with kindness. When the body aches with fatigue, instead of berating it, you listen, rest, care. This does not mean you approve of harm or injustice. The monk had been clear. Acceptance does not mean passivity toward what must be changed. It means seeing clearly what can be changed and what must be met with patience. A recent news story comes to mind, images of suffering in distant lands. The heart contracts, anger, grief, arise. Here too, the teaching applies. You do not turn away. You do not pretend all is well. But you also do not drown in helpless rage. Instead, what can I do? How can I contribute to better conditions? Perhaps a donation, perhaps raising awareness, perhaps a prayer, a small act of compassion in daily life. In this, you align with the flow of causes and conditions, planting seeds for more skillful outcomes. And when certain things cannot be changed, illness, aging, the impermanence of relationships, you meet them. When ready, with a tender heart, the monk's voice echoes again. To cling is to suffer. To flow is to be free. And to for. And so, even in moments of loss, when friendships shift, when loved ones pass, when plans dissolve, you practice opening, not closing. Tears may come, grief may visit. This, too, is human, but beneath it flows an abiding trust. This, too, is part of the great unfolding, not punishment, not meaningless, simply life. As it is, one evening, after a difficult conversation with someone dear, a conversation that did not resolve as you'd hoped, you sit quietly, breath steady. Old patterns whisper, "It shouldn't be this way. They should understand. I should have said more." But you pose, smile softly. It is as it is. For now, conditions will shift, as they always do. My task is to remain open, clear, compassionate. The weight of should lightens. The heart rests in the unfolding. The next morning, the sun breaks through the clouds. The air smells fresh, new, walking beneath trees dappled with light. You reflect, Acceptance is not about liking every moment. It is about meeting each moment with wisdom. In this way, life softens, the sharp edges dull, even struggle becomes teacher, even uncertainty becomes ally. You recall the monk's parting words, "When we stop fighting life, we begin to truly live." And now, step by step, breath by breath, you walk this path not as an ideal to reach, but as a way of being. A phone rings. En unexpected change arrive. A joy appears. A sorrow follows. And in each, you pose, breathe, respond not from habit, but from presence. In this, the dance of life continues not controlled, but embraced. And in embracing it, a quiet freedom blooms, to live fully, to meet each moment as teacher, to trust the unfolding, to rest in the great flow of all things. The flow of life continues days, unfolding into weeks, each bringing its own tapestry of experience. As the outer rhythm carries you forward, the inner practice deepens more and more. You begin to see life's events not as isolated good or bad moments, but as evolving processes within a vast web of conditions. And yet, as the elder monk had reminded you, the path is not one of avoiding difficulty. It is one of learning to meet it wisely. One crisp autumn morning, a message arrives unexpected, unwelcome. A professional opportunity you had nurtured for months has been withdrawn, the result of factors beyond your control. The heart contracts, a familiar tightening in the chest, a wave of disappointment, tinged with frustration, ripples through the mind. At first, the old voices rise. It's unfair. All that work was wasted. Why does this always happen? You recognize the pattern. You pose, breathe. Everything arises from conditions. Nothing is random. Nothing is wasted. The teaching returns not as abstract comfort, but as living invitation. You sit quietly, allowing the emotion to be felt fully, not bypassed. Not denied. There is loss here. You acknowledge. It is natural to grieve. Let the wave pass through, breath by breath. Space opens. The contraction softens. Beneath the noise of the mind, a deeper current emerges. What can be learned here? What new possibilities might this create? You recall the monk's words, "Difficulty is not enemy. It is teacher." Oh, and indeed, as the initial sting fades, insights arise. You see how this opportunity had become subtly entangled with attachment, with hopes of validation, of control. Its loss exposes old clinging. In seeing this, freedom grows, and already, other pathways begin to reveal themselves invisible, while the mind was fixated on a single outcome. This is the alchemy of the path, not that adversity disappears, but that it becomes fertile ground for awakening. You begin to notice this pattern again and again. A misunderstanding with a friend surfaces, words exchanged with unintended sharpness. The mind wants to recoil, to defend. Pause, breathe. What conditions have led to this moment? What can be seen here? You realize, beneath the surface tension lies unspoken hurt. Unmet needs. You reach out not with blame, but with curiosity, with care. The conversation softens, connection deepens. What began as rupture becomes a doorway to greater understanding, or another dire sudden illness interrupts your plans. Fatigue forces you to rest when the mind clamors to Keep going. Pause. Breathe. This, too, is life unfolding. What is this moment asking of me? In resting, a deeper listening arises to the body's wisdom, to the need for balance, long ignored. Each experience, pleasant or painful, reveals itself as part of the great flow. The monk's voice returns often in memory. To cling to pleasure or to resist pain is to be caught. To meet each with equanimity is to walk the path of freedom. End of quote. Gradually, you begin to trust this truth, that every experience, no matter how challenging, carries within it seeds of growth. The loss of a job may birth new skills. The end of a relationship may clear space for deeper self-understanding. An illness may awaken compassion for oneself. For others, one evening, reflecting on these shifts, you recall another teaching from the elder Manka story he had shared beneath the stars. There was once a young bamboo shoot, he had said, that longed to grow tall, to reach the sky. But as it grew, storms bent it low. Winds battered its slender stalk. The shoot despaired, thinking itself broken. Aye, the monk had smiled, but in time, the shoot grew strong, its roots deepening, its fibers resilient, and when the storms returned, it swayed, with them no longer resisting, but dancing. You had listened, heart open. The same is true for us, the monk had continued. It is not the absence of storms that brings freedom, but the capacity to move with them. And now, amid life's inevitable winds, you begin to feel this flexibility growing within. When praise comes, you receive it with gratitude, but without clinging. When criticism arises, do you listen but without collapse? When joy visits, you savor it fully, knowing it will pass. When sorrow comes, do you welcome it as guest, not enemy? This is not indifference. It is not numbness. It is a deepening capacity to hold life in its fullness with an open, steady heart. One afternoon, sitting beneath a tree in a quiet park, you watch children playing. Their laughter rises, unburdened. A sudden fall brings tears. Then soon laughter returns. The resilience of the child's heart, Shinessa, reminder of your own innate capacity to meet life freshly. You breathe deeply, feeling the ground beneath you, the sky above. This moment, too, arises from countless causes. This breath, this life knot, separate from the vast unfolding. And with each breath, you deepen in trust, not in outcomes, but in the path itself. There will be more joys. There will be more sorrows. This is the way of things. But now, you walk with different eyes, with a heart less reactive, more spacious. You remember the monk's words, when we truly understand that everything happens for a reason, not as punishment or reward, but as natural unfolding, we cease to fight life. And in that ceasing, we find peace. The path ahead is not without uncertainty, but within you grows an abiding trust. Whatever comes, it too will be teacher. Whatever passes, it too will leave its gift. And through it all, awareness remains the steady witness to the dance of becoming. You rise, stepping into the flow of life, once more, not to control it, but to meet it fully. And in this meeting, moment by moment, the deepest freedom unfolds. One clear morning, as you stroll through a familiar park, The air carries the gentle crispness of early winter. Leaves flutter to the ground each descent, a small reminder of impermanence. The path winds beneath towering trees, their bare branches etching the sky. As your feet find their rhythm, the mind, too, begins its habitual wandering drifting toward unfinished tasks, future plans, distant worries. What if this project doesn't succeed? When will that conversation happen? Will they understand me? You notice it now. This subtle restlessness, this leaning forward into the imagined future. Pause. Breathe. The bracelet on your wrist brushes the skin as small, steady reminder. Here. Now. This is where life is. You recall the elder monk's teaching. The mind loves to chase phantoms, memories of the past, projections of the future. But life unfolds only in this moment. When we learn to return, we rediscover freedom. The words resonate more deeply now. You've seen it time and again how much energy is lost in rehearsing past regrets or grasping for future outcomes. Even joyful moments are often clouded by the mind's chatter. This is nice, but will it last? How can I preserve it? Or, this is difficult, will it always be this way? When will it end? But when presence arises, when attention rests fully in what is the entire texture of experience shifts, the leaves beneath your feet crunch softly. The air brushes cool against your face. The sun filters through bare branches in shimmering patterns. No past, no future, just this unfolding moment. You pause on a wooden bench, breath steady. The monk's voice echoes in memory. The present moment is never lacking. What is lacking is our presence to it. You reflect on how often life's richness has been missed not through lack of opportunity, but through inattention. How many meals eaten without tasting? How many conversations half heard, half spoken? How many sunrises unseen? Even when before your eyes, in returning to presence, even the simplest acts reveal their depth. A sip of tea, the warmth of water on your hands, the sound of birds calling in the distance. Each becomes a doorway to the infinite. And when difficulty arises, it inevitably does. Presence offers refuge. Rather than spinning stories, why me? How long will this last? You practice returning. What is here now? What sensations? What emotions? What breath? In this, suffering softens. The mind's grasp loosens. What seemed unbearable becomes workable. You think of a recent evening, returning home after a long day. Fatigue heavy in your body. A wave of sadness had surfaced unbidden, unexplainable. The old habit stirred. I shouldn't feel this. I should be stronger. What's wrong with me? But then pause. Breath. What is here now? You had sat quietly, resting awareness on breath, on body, on the ebb and flow of feeling. The sadness remained, but no longer tangled in story. It was simply a wave passing through awareness. And as space opened, so did compassion for yourself, for the tender humanness of it all. The monk had said, presence is not a shield against pain. It is the ground from which we meet it, with wisdom. Now, as you sit beneath the bare trees, you feel the truth of this. Life will continue to bring both joy and sorrow, ease and challenge, but in meeting each moment fully, without fleeing into past or future, you walk the path of true freedom. You rise. Continuing your walk, the city stirs around you, people rushing, phones in hand, eyes elsewhere. You recognize yourself in them not with judgment, but with understanding. For how often have you 2. Been lost in thought? Disconnected from the life flowing right beneath your feet? The monk's words return. Compassion begins here not in lofty ideals, but in seeing the shared human condition. We are all learning. We are all remembering. You smile softly, heart open. At the market, you practice this presence. You notice the textures of fruit beneath your fingers, the scent of herbs, the cadence of voices. When impatience arises in line, you meet it not with frustration, but with curiosity. What does impatience feel like? Where does it live in the body? How does it shift with breath? In this, even waiting becomes practice. Later, preparing a meal, you attend to each movement, the rhythm of chopping, the sizzle of oil, the steam rising. And when the mind begins to wander, I must finish this quickly. There's so much to do. You return. This moment is enough. And it is. As weeks pass, presence weaves more seamlessly through daily life. Not as constant perfection, the mind still wanders. Old habits still arise, but now, each forgetting becomes invitation to remember. Each breath, a doorway home. You reflect on the monk's teaching. The greatest freedom is not in changing circumstances, but in meeting each moment with an open heart. And so, when traffic snarls, you breathe. When a project falters, you pose. When joy arises, you savor. When grief visits, you welcome. In this way, life becomes practice C-note, something apart. But the very ground of awakening, you notice, too, a subtle shift, the craving for something else, for some future state of perfection loosens. You no longer live only for when this is over or when things are better. And press. You live here, now, and in this presence, even ordinary moments glow. A shared smile, a cool breeze, the dance of shadow and light on the floor. The elder monk had said, the present is the only place where life touches us, the only place where we can love, act, awaken, and press. And now, step by step, breath by breath, you walk this path not towards some distant goal, but into the heart of this moment. And in that heart, you find the deepest freedom of all, to be here, to be whole, to be awake. One cool afternoon, you sit by the window, watching pale light drift through the trees. The mind is quiet, the breath steady, yet beneath the calm, a subtle tenderness stirs a remembering of the elder monk's words. Presence without compassion is incomplete. The heart must open as fully as the mind awakens. And of all the teachings, this one seems both the simplest and the most challenging. For while mindfulness sharpens awareness, compassion softens the heart, especially when meeting what is difficult in yourself, in others, in the world. You think of recent day small moments when compassion might have deepened presence. An interaction with a colleague whose sharp words had stung, a moment of self-criticism after a careless mistake, an old memory resurfacing with a twinge of shame, the mind's habitual reflex, even now, leans toward judgment. They shouldn't have said that. I should have known better. I should be past this by now. But then the elder monk's voice returns. Can you meet this? 2. With compassion, not to excuse, not to condone, but to understand, to soften. And from you reflect on how often suffering is compounded not by circumstances alone, but by the harshness of our inner response. How often we scold ourselves for being human. How often we withdraw from others' pain, unable to bear its reflection. And yet, the monk had reminded you, every being acts from conditions. Every action, skillful or unskillful, arises from countless causes. When we see this, the heart naturally inclines toward compassion. Oh, you close your eyes, breathing softly. You bring to mind a recent moment of self-blame, something small, yet persistent, a missed opportunity, a word spoken too hastily. As the memory arises, so too does the familiar contraction, a tightening in the chest, the whispered voice of, not good enough. But now, instead of turning away, you remain present. You ask gently, what are the conditions? You see it clearly, now fatigue. Old patterns, unexamined fears. No villain here, no moral failure. Simply a human moment, shaped by causes beyond conscious control. You place a hand over your heart. As the monk had once guided, it's okay. You whisper inwardly, this, too, belongs. This, too, is held. Quote, a warmth spreads, a softening of the grip. You feel a quiet truth. Self-compassion is not indulgence. It is the soil in which healing grows. And from this softened heart, compassion for others blooms more naturally. You recall a recent interaction, a friend struggling with anger and fear, their words sharp, their energy restless. The old reflex might have recoiled, judged, but now you had paused. What are the conditions? You saw their stress, their unseen burdens, their longing for understanding. And from this seeing, kindness arose not as forced effort, but as natural response. The monk's teaching rings clear. When we understand that all beings act from their conditioning, the heart opens not in approval of harm, but in recognition of shared humanity. You breathe in this understanding. Later, walking through the city streets, this awareness deepens. Each passerby a world of unseen causes. The hurried stranger, the distracted parent, the weary worker, the child in laughter, the elder moving slowly. You feel it now not as concept, but as embodied knowing, each life, a river of conditions flowing forward. Each action, the fruit of infinite causes. How can one not meet this with compassion? Even those who harm driven by fear, by ignorance, by their own unseen wounds. Compassion does not excuse. It does not mean allowing harm to continue, but it sees the suffering beneath the action. The monk's voice returns. Compassion is fierce and tender. It protects where needed. It forgives where possible. It always seeks understanding. In this way, compassion becomes not a sentimental feeling, but a steady practice. When someone speaks harshly, you pause. What pain moves in them? How can I respond wisely? When self-judgment arises, you soften. What unmet need does this reveal? How can I hold it with care? When encountering injustice, you act. What skillful means can serve here? What seeds of healing can be planted? Thus, compassion flows not as reaction, but as conscious choice. And over time, it transforms not only moments, but relationships and old conflict. Once brittle with blame, now opens to dialogue. A strained friendship, once avoided, now approached with gentler eyes. A tense family pattern, once inflamed, now softened by patience. Through this practice, you glimpse a deeper freedom, to live without hardening, to feel without drowning, to act with both clarity and care. The monk had called this the middle way of the heart. And now, day by day, breath by breath, you walk it. Not perfectly old habits still arise. A moment of impatience here, a flash of judgment there, but each is met with awareness. Each becomes invitation. Can I meet this? 2. With compassion, and so the path unfolds not towards sainthood, but toward greater humanness, a humanness that embraces imperfection, that honors vulnerability, that remembers we are all learning, we are all becoming. And in this remembrance, the deepest compassion arises not from lofty ideal, but from shared experience. Later, sitting quietly as dusk falls, you reflect, perhaps this is the heart of the path, to awaken the mind. Yes, but more, to awaken the heart, to live so that each encounter, be it with self, with other, with the world, is touched by understanding, to meet life not as adversary, but as fellow traveler, and in this meeting, to plant seeds of healing wherever you walk. In the months since returning from the monastery, the teachings have continued to unfold, not in grand revelations, but in the subtle textures of daily life. There are days when practice flows easily, when presence arises naturally, when compassion moves without effort. And there are days when the heart is tested, when the call to live these teachings meets the sharp edges of reality. It is on such a day that the deeper practice begins. The morning had started ordinarily enough quiet breath, mindful steps, the hum of a busy city coming alive. But then a message, a conversation, unexpected words, harsh and cutting. A person you trusted, whose friendship you valued, had spoken ill of you behind closed doors. The news stung, the heart recoiled, the mind surged. How could they? After all we've shared, I trusted them. The old reflex stirred danger, betrayal, a tightening of the chest. The voice of the wounded self rose. I must confront them. I must defend myself. They deserve my anger. For a moment, the teachings felt distant. The heart closed, armored. But then pause. A breath. You placed a hand on your chest, feeling the rawness there. The elder monk's words surfaced gently. Compassion is easy when life is pleasant. True compassion is forged in fire. You breathed again, grounding in the present. What is here now? Pain, anger, hurt, a longing to be seen, to be safe. No need to deny, no need to force forgiveness, only to see clearly, to hold with kindness. You whispered inwardly, this, too, belongs. This, too, is held. Gradually, space opened around the pain. The monk's deeper teaching returned. Remember, every action arises from causes and conditions. Even harm done to you is not born from pure malice, but from that person's own conditioning, their fears, wounds, blindness. You breathed this not as excuse, but as understanding. You reflected on your friend, their recent struggles, their unspoken insecurities. This did not erase the hurt. It did not mean you must accept unkindness, but it softened the grip of blame. Compassion arose not as condoning, but as seeing the shared human frailty. And within that compassion, a new clarity emerged. You could choose to respond not from woundedness, but from wisdom, Perhaps a direct conversation would be skillful. Perhaps space was needed first. But whatever choice arose, it would come from presence, not reactivity. This, the monk had said, is the true strength of compassion, to act with clear boundaries where needed, to protect without hatred, to forgive where possible, to remain open, even when hurt. A2, you felt this strength now, not a brittle armor, but a supple resilience. Later, walking through the city, this practice deepened. The streets teemed with life faces weary, hurried, distracted, and the news that day spoke of injustice, of violence, corruption, suffering inflicted by systems and by human hands. The heart contracted grief. Anger, helplessness arose. How can one meet such vast suffering with compassion? Again, the monk's teaching returned. Compassion is not sentimentality. It is fierce when needed. It acts, it protects, it seeks justice. But it does not harden the heart. It does not become what it opposes. End quote. You breathed, feeling the ground beneath your feet. You could not single-handedly undo injustice. You could not erase all suffering. But you could choose how you met each moment. You could choose where to plant seeds of healing, perhaps a donation to a cause, perhaps standing in solidarity, perhaps speaking truth with courage, perhaps a simple act of kindness amid the ordinary. No act was too small. The ripples of compassion, the monk had said, reach further than we see. In this, a quiet empowerment grew. You were not powerless amid suffering. You could meet each act of harm not with bitterness, but with wise action rooted in compassion. And when despair whispered, "It's too much. The world is too broken," you remembered. Everything happens through causes and conditions, and every action you take now plants new causes. No effort is wasted. This teaching became anchor on the hardest days. When anger surged at injustice, you held it with compassion. When helplessness arose, you breathed. Returned to small, skillful action, and in doing so, you preserved the softness of the heart, not naive, but fiercely open. One evening, reflecting on these deeper layers of practice, you wrote in your journal, "Compassion is not weakness. It is the courage to meet suffering without closing. It is the strength to act wisely without hatred. It is the patience to keep loving, even in an unloving world." And in the days that followed, you continued this living inquiry. When faced with another's cruel, to pause. Breathe. What are the conditions? How can I respond skillfully? When self-blame arose, pause. Breathe. What is the unmet need beneath this? Can I meet it with care? When the world's pain felt overwhelming, pause. Breathe. What small act of compassion is possible now? Through this steady practice, the heart's capacity expanded, not to love perfectly, not to never feel anger or grief, but to hold it all with more space, more tenderness. And so the teaching deepened not as distant ideal, but as lived path, to be kind when it is hard, to be patient when there is tension, to act with clarity amid injustice, to soften toward oneself again and again. And in this, you glimpsed what the monk had meant when he'd said, "Compassion is the flowering of true understanding. It is the fragrance of awakened presence." And the fragrance now lingered in your days and words, in gestures, in moments unseen, and through it, life itself became the field of practice. The seasons turn, days lengthen, then shorten again. Through it all, your practice continues, breath by breath, moment by moment. The understanding of everything happens for a reason has deepened. It now lives not as a rigid belief, but as a quiet, steady lens way of seeing the dance of life. You have seen how present causes shape experience. You have seen how past conditioning influences self and others. You have seen how suffering arises from resistance and how freedom arises from presence and compassion. And yet, life, in its vastness, remains full of mystery. There are moments when events unfold that defy your understanding. A sudden death, a tragic accident, a deep betrayal, a cruelty that seems without cause. The mind surges. Why? Why this? Why now? How could this happen? And no answer comes. It is in such moments that the teaching meets its greatest test. One cold winter evening, you sit alone, breath slow, heart heavy. News has come of a loss unexpected, irreversible. A dear friend young, vibrant, full of life gone in an instant. The mind spins. How can this be part of any greater unfolding? What reason could explain this? Tears rise. The heart aches in such rawness. The words of the elder monk return not as comfort, but as grounding. Some causes and conditions are visible, many are not. The web of life stretches beyond what the mind can hold. Humility before this truth is wisdom. How you breathe, feeling the depth of this. It is not mine to know all causes. It is not mine to grasp the whole pattern. It is enough to meet this moment as it is: grief, love, unknowing all, held in awareness. The monk had once spoken of this. When we demand that life always makes sense to us, we suffer twice: first from the loss itself, and again from the refusal to accept the mystery. And so, breath by breath, you soften the demand for answers. You allow grief to flow, tears falling freely. You allow love to remain unchanged by absence. You allow unknowing to be not as failure, but as part of being human. You remember another teaching. To walk the path is to bow to mystery, to know that life is vaster than any single mind, to trust the unfolding even when the heart breaks. And in this surrender, a new depth of presence opens, not to explain away the pain, not to diminish the loss, but to hold it gently, with reverence. Later, walking beneath a sky scattered with stars, this truth deepens. You gaze upward, feeling both small and connected. How many stars have birthed and died unseen? How many lives have touched others in unseen ways? How many threads weave through this moment that I will never know? The elder monk's voice echoes. Everything happens for a reason does not mean we will know that reason. It means trusting that the web is whole, even when we see only fragments. And you breathe this in. It does not erase grief. It does not remove longing, but it brings a deeper peace, not from certainty, but from surrender. A humility grows. I do not need to understand all things. I do not need to hold the whole of life in my grasp. I can meet this moment fully, even in unknowing. And this humility brings a strange strength. You can walk through loss with tenderness. You can meet sorrow without collapse. You can hold questions without needing immediate answers. And in this way, presence deepens. You begin to see the greatest trust is not in having answers. It is in being present with what is answers or not. Over time, this trust weaves through other areas of life. When a loved one's path veers into struggle, you do not rush to fix. You hold space. You trust their unfolding. When the world's suffering overwhelms you, act where you can. You trust that unseen ripples matter. When life brings unexpected change, you meet it with open hands. The elder monk had said, "Life does not ask us to understand it. It asks us to love it, to meet it fully, joy and sorrow alike." And now, you begin to taste this, to bow before mystery not in defeat, but in reverence, to walk with open heart through a world that will never be fully known. And in this openness, compassion grows for others who carry unseen burdens, for yourself who walks amid uncertainty, for life itself fever changing, ever unfolding. Thus, everything happens for a reason becomes not a slogan, not a shield, but a doorway to humility, a doorway to presence, a doorway to deeper love. And in walking through it, you find that the deepest wisdom is not knowing all causes. It is being at peace with not knowing while meeting each moment with clarity and care. As the elder monk had smiled and said, "We do not need to see the whole river. We need only to place one foot in the stream and walk with trust, Tem." And so, with each breath, with each step, you walk, not seeking to master life, but to meet it mystery, and all with an open, steady heart. The river of life continues its flow. And, as it does, larger currents sometimes arise, changes that shift the very landscape of your existence. It begins, as such things often do, with a subtle stirring. At first, it is only a restlessness, a sense that something in your current path no longer fits. Work that once felt aligned now feels constricted. A place once called home begins to feel like a cocoon too small. Certain relationship shifts, some deepening, others quietly drifting away. The mind resists, but I have built so much here. I know this life. Why change? What if I make the wrong choice? Fear of the unknown arises, natural and familiar. And yet, beneath it, another voice whispers, life moves in cycles. Clinging to what has passed its season brings suffering. Trust the unfolding. The teaching of everything happens for a reason, returns not as passive acceptance, but as invitation to align with the natural flow of life. You remember the elder monk's words, "Impermanence is not enemy. It is the very breath of life. To resist it is to fight the river. To trust it is to dance with its current." And so, you begin to listen more deeply, not to the noisy chatter of fear, but to the quiet wisdom beneath. You reflect, what are the causes and conditions now? What is life asking of me? What wants to be released? What new space wants to open? In this inquiry, clarity slowly emerges. A new opportunity arises, unexpected, but resonant. A different role, in a different place. A chance to serve in ways that feel more true to your current path. And yet, to say yes requires letting go of familiar colleagues, of a steady rhythm, of the identity you have worn in this role. Again, fear whispers, what if I fail? What if this is a mistake? You pose. Breathe. The elder monk had taught, there is no failure in the path. There is only learning, only unfolding. End quote. You feel the truth of this. And so, breath by breath, you lean into trust. You begin the process of transition, packing boxes. Each item carries memory reminders of years lived fully. Goodbyes are said not always with ease, but with honesty. You honor the grief of leaving, tears fall freely. The monk had reminded you, grief is love that honors what was. Let it flow. It will clear the heart for what is to come. And indeed, as you allow the waves of feeling, the heart softens, space opens. When the day of departure arrives, you stand at the threshold of the old. You place a hand on the door, bowing inwardly. Thank you for all that this season has given. I release you now. May what comes next unfold with wisdom. And with this, you step into the new. The new city hums with unfamiliar rhythms. The new role stretches old edges. New faces bring both curiosity and uncertainty. At times, disorientation arises. Loneliness, doubt. The mind longs for the comfort of the known. Again, you pose, breathe. Everything arises through causes and conditions. This moment, too, is part of the great unfolding. You meet each new experience with openness. Each street explored becomes meditation and presence. Each new colleague becomes an opportunity to practice listening. Each discomfort becomes teacher in resilience. Gradually, threads of connection begin to weave. A new community forms, soon expected friendships arise. The work deepens in ways unseen before. And through it all, the teaching remains a steady compass. When old longing surfaces, you bow to it with compassion. Thank you for what was. I walk with you now into what is. When comparison arises, I was more skilled there. You meet it with gentleness. This is a new path. It is natural to be a beginner again. When uncertainty clouds the mind, you return to presence. I need not know the whole path. I walk step by step, trusting the unfolding. And as you do, a deeper freedom blossoms. You realize life's greatest richness often comes when we step beyond the known, when we release the death grip on what was, when we meet the new with open heart. The elder monk had said, to live fully is to befriend change, to trust that every ending seeds a beginning, that every letting go creates space for new life. And now, you feel this not as concept, but as lived truth. One evening, walking beneath unfamiliar stars, you pose. A quiet voice within speaks. I do not walk alone. I walk with life itself. Every step, every turn, guided by unseen hands of cause and condition. There is no wrong place to be. There is only the path unfolding. And in this, a new ease arises. You need not force life into shapes. You need not cling to past roles, identities, attachments. You can meet each season as it comes, with presence, with humility, with trust, and in doing so, the dance of life becomes more fluid. When relationships shift, you honor what was, bless what is. When work evolves, you meet new challenges with curiosity. When home itself changes, you carry your true home within a breath, presence, open heart. Thus, everything happens for a reason, deepens in meaning, not as a need to explain all things, but as a trust in the great riverets, twists and turns, its eddies and flows. And so you walk forward, not seeking to control the current, but to dance with it, to be here, fully, to meet what comes, wisely, to release what passes, gracefully. And in this, you glimpse the true teaching. Life does not move backward. It flows ever forward. And so must we. With each breath, each step, you walk this path of becoming. There is a turning in the path of practice, a subtle, but profound. After months of applying everything happens for a reason to the outer world work, relationships, to life events, you begin to feel a gentle pull inward. The elder monk's words return. Eventually, the gaze must turn toward the self, not in self-absorption, but in true understanding. For how can we meet others with compassion if we meet ourselves with harshness? And so begins a new chapter, the practice of meeting yourself with the same clarity, compassion, and trust you have cultivated for life itself. At first, it is not easy, for even amid growing awareness, old patterns remain layers of judgment, of self-demand. One evening, after a difficult conversation, the old voice rises. I should have handled that better. Why do I still react this way? I thought I had grown past this. The mind spins a familiar chorus of self-critique. You pause, breathe, and then, as if whispered from memory, the monk's teaching arises. You, too, are the unfolding of causes and conditions. You, too, arise moment by moment. No moment of self is wrong. It is what it is, shaped by infinite threads. And you place a hand on your chest, breath softening. This reaction, too, has causes. This old habit, too, is not a flaw, but the fruit of past conditions. And in this seeing, space opens. The grip of self-blame loosens. Compassion arises not as excuse, but as understanding. You reflect, how many times have I demanded perfection from myself? How often have I measured my worth by impossible standards? The monk had once smiled and said, "Be wary of the trap of spiritual perfection. Too, it is just another mask of ego. To walk this path is not to become flawless. It is to become fully human with tenderness, with truth." IXD. And so you begin to watch the mind's habits more closely. Each time it whispers, "You should be better than this." IXD. "You should not feel this." IXD. "You should be more like them." IXD. You pause, breathe, and ask, what are the causes beneath this voice? What longing? What fear? What unmet need? Gradually, a deeper compassion blooms. You begin to see that the self, too, is a river not fixed, not flawed, flowing moment by moment, that every pattern of fear, of shame, of craving as roots in early wounds, in ancestral echoes, in unseen conditioning, and thus, judgment gives way to curiosity, harshness gives way to care. You walk more gently with yourself. When tiredness arises, you rest, without guilt. When old insecurities surface, you meet them with kindness. When progress feels slow, you trust the rhythm of your own unfolding. The elder monk had said, "Do not compare your path to another's. The river of your life flows at its own pace, through its own terrain. Honor this, and this teaching becomes balm. You release the habit of self-comparison, seeing that every being walks a unique path, shaped by unseen causes. You reflect, everything happens for a reason. Applies here too, to my own becoming, to my stumblings and strides alike. Regret softens, for you begin to see that past mistakes were not wrong, but part of the learning, that each misstep carried its teaching, that the person you are now arose through those very moments. Thus, the burden of "I should have known better" dissolves. You bow inwardly to your own journey with all its imperfections, all its beauty, and a surprising freedom arises. the freedom to be exactly as you are here. Now, not complacent, not stagnant, but resting in the truth of this moment. From this soil of self-compassion, new growth emerges. You take risks with more courage, knowing failure is not shameful. You speak more authentically, trusting that imperfection is part of connection. You love with fuller heart, no longer bound by fear of not being enough. And even in relationships, this shift is felt. Boundaries become clearer, not from coldness, but from self-respect. You give what is true, not what is forced. You receive love more openly, no longer blocked by self-doubt. The elder monk had once said, "To love oneself is not vanity. It is the root from which love for all beings can truly grow." And now, you begin to understand. For as your compassion for yourself deepens, so does your compassion for others. You see more clearly that others, too, are rivers in flow imperfect, learning, yearning. You hold them with gentler hands. When they stumble, you remember your own stumblings. When they lash out, you remember your own moments of fear. When they retreat, you remember your own need for safety. And thus, the web of compassion widens. It begins within, and it ripples outward. One morning, standing before the mirror, you pose. You look not with critique, but with presence. You whisper inwardly, "You are enough, as you are, becoming as you will become." And in this, a new softness arises. Not the softness of resignation, but the softness of deep trust that your unfolding, too, happens for a reason. That each breath, each choice, each lesson belongs. That the journey of self is not to arrive, but to meet each moment of being with love. And so, you walk forward, not trying to fix yourself, not striving to become some imagined ideal, but living fully in this river of life, with compassion for what is, with openness to what may be, with trust in the unseen weaving of your becoming. And in this way, the heart of the teaching flowers. Everything happens for a reason, even within me, especially within me. And that reason, you now see, is not always to know, but to trust, to meet, to love. The path of life winds onward. And as it does, the deeper currents of practice call forth new understandings. For inevitably, the seasons of the body shift. Gray threads weave through once dark hair. Lines etch themselves upon the skin stories of years lived. The body speaks more clearly now, stiffness here, fatigue there, a slower pace. At first, there is resistance. I am not ready. This cannot be happening. Others are aging. Why must I? I still have so much to do. The old reflexes of grasping arise toward youth, vitality, the illusion of permanence. But then, breath by breath, the teachings return. Everything arises and passes away. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. To cling is to suffer. To flow is to be free. And you sit quietly one morning, watching light shift across the floor. The elder monk's voice echoes. Aging is not a mistake. It is the natural unfolding of causes and conditions. It is not punishment, but the song of life moving forward. And in this, the heart softens. You see, these gray hairs are the bloom of years loved, of struggles met, of lesson learned. These lines are not flaws, but the poetry of a life lived with presence. And so, rather than resist. You begin to bow inwardly to this new season, not as resignation, but as reverence, a reverence for the preciousness of this human life, so brief, so fragile, so luminous. You walk with more mindfulness. Each sunrise feels more vivid, each conversation more dear, each small beauty a falling leaf, a child's laughter more poignant. And when the body protests, you listen with compassion. Thank you for carrying me thus far. I will care for you with tenderness. End of 20. Thus, aging becomes not enemy, but teacher, a teacher of presence, a teacher of humility, a teacher of letting go. And then, as the path continues, illness may visit unexpected, uninvited, perhaps a minor ailment, perhaps a diagnosis that shakes the heart. Again, the mind resists. This is unfair. Why me? How can this be part of any reason? But once more, the breath anchors you, and the monk's teaching whispers, illness, too, arises from causes and conditions. It is not moral failure. It is not punishment. It is the body's way of expressing its impermanence. Oh, and in this, the war with illness softens. Not that you stop seeking care-wise. Action is part of compassion. But the inner fight, the refusal to accept what is dissolves, you meet the body's changes with greater patience. When energy wanes, you rest. When pain arises, you breathe with it. When uncertainty clouds the mind, you return to presence. This, too, is part of my path, and through this, a deeper gratitude emerges for each breath still drawn, for each morning still seen, for each loved one still embraced. Life, in its impermanence, shines more brightly, and then, beneath it all, the deeper inquiry stirs. How shall I meet the final letting go? For death, too, is woven into the fabric of life. The elder monk had spoken often of this. To contemplate death is not morbid. It is to awaken fully to life. Only by facing impermanence can we truly live. Am certain. You sit beneath a tree one afternoon, leaves falling gently, and you contemplate not with dread, but with openness. One day, this body will return to the earth. One day, this breath will cease. One day, this story will end. And yet, within this seeing, to estrange peace, erise, for the teaching of everything happens for a reason, shines here, too, not in the sense of fixed fate, but in the trust that birth and death are part of the great unfolding, that this life, like all life, arises from countless causes and returns to the great mystery from which all arises. The monk had said, death is not failure. It is not the end of meaning. It is the natural completion of this form's journey. And so, you practice now not to deny death, but to prepare to meet it with open heart, to live each day as precious, to love more freely, to release more lightly. You reflect, if today were my last, how would I live it? And this reflection softens the heart's grasping. Petty resentments fall away. Grudges seem small. The impulse to delay joy lessens. And so, life becomes more vivid. You speak love more often. You savor simple pleasures. You forgive more quickly. You bow to the mystery more humbly. And when fear of death arises us, it still does at times, you meet it not with denial, but with presence. Fear, too, has causes. It is natural. I will hold it with compassion. in from feck, and gradually, even fear loosens. For beneath all change, all arising and passing, one truth remains: awareness itself vast, is spacious, untouched. The monk had called this the unborn, the undying, the ground of being beyond form. In from feck, and in glimpses, you touch this space, when sitting in deep stillness, when gazing at the stars, when holding the hand of a loved one in silence. And in those moments, the fear of ending softens, for you see that this life is a wave upon the ocean, rising, cresting, dissolving, yet never separate from the sea. And so, with each passing season, you live more freely, not clinging to youth, not fearing age, not denying illness, not resisting death, but walking the path of becoming with reverence, with presence, with trust. And when the final moment comes, whenever it may be, you vow inwardly to meet it as you have met this life, with open eyes, with steady breath, with an undefended heart. And in this vow, a deep peace blooms. For you see now that everything happens for a reason is not a promise of answers, but an invitation to trust the great unfolding. And in this trust, there is freedom to live, to love, to let go. And so you walk on, breath by breath, moment by moment, not toward an end, but into the infinite now. As the seasons continue, their quiet turning, you notice a new quality blossoming in your desa lightness, a quiet joy, not the fleeting thrill of excitement, not the restless chase of pleasure, but a grounded how, spacious joy woven through the very fabric of ordinary life. It arises not, despite the practice of everything happens for a reason, but because of it. For in releasing the struggle to control life, to make it perfect, you have created space for life's natural joy to emerge. One crisp morning, walking through the city park, this truth unfolds again. The air sparkles with autumn chill, leaves crunch beneath your feet. A small dog darts past, its exuberance contagious. You pose, breathe, smile. This moment, too, arises from infinite causes, and here I am alive, breathing, witnessing it. And quote, gratitude wells not forced, not practiced, but spontaneous. You reflect how many unseen threads led to this breath, the ancestors who lived and loved, the earth that nourished your body, the teachers who shaped your mind, the chance meetings, the quiet choice, the unseen hands. And here you are walking in this moment. The elder monk had said, gratitude is the natural flowering of presence. When we truly see the web of life, the heart bows in wonder. Oh, and so it is. Even sipping tea becomes meditation and joy. The warmth of the cup in your hands, the scent rising, the play of flavor on your tongue. You need not make this moment joyful. You need only meet it fully. And joy arises. You begin to see that joy is not in the special moments alone, but in the simple presence with what is, the sunlight on your skin, the laughter of a child, the quiet rhythm of your own breath, each a doorway to gratitude, even in work. This shift is felt. Tasks, once approached with tension, now become opportunities for mindful engagement. You wash dishes with care, feeling the water, hearing its music. You write emails with attention, not rushing, but honoring each word. You greet colleagues with genuine presence. And through it all, the teaching whispers, This, too, arises from causes and conditions. This, too, is worthy of full attention. And so joy threads through the ordinary. A friend's story shared over lunch, a new flower blooming by the roadside, a stranger's unexpected kindness, each met with a heart more open, more receptive. You notice, too, how joy deepens when released from expectation. The old mind often said, "I will be happy when this project is done. This goal is reached. This person understands me." But now, you meet this thought with a smile. Joy is not postponed. It is available in this breath, in this step. And in this, life becomes more vibrant. Even challenges are met with a lighter touch. When a plan shifts unexpectedly, you pause. Perhaps this, too, serves unseen reasons. When a small disappointment arises, you breathe. This, too, will pass. And what remains? This moment, still full. And thus, joy is no longer dependent on circumstances. It flows from presence itself. The elder monk had called this the joy of the undefended heart, and a heart not closed in fear, not hardened by striving, but open to the full dance of life. You find yourself laughing more easily sometimes for no reason at all. You catch yourself humming while walking. You smile at strangers, touched by the simple beauty of shared existence. One evening, watching the moon rise, this joy deepens. The sky, vast and luminous, the earth, cool beneath you, the breath, steady and soft. And a knowing arises. I need not grasp at life. I need not hoard joy. It is here, always, when I meet it with openness. End of quote. And this openness ripples outward. You celebrate others' joys more freely without comparison. You give more generously without expectation. You dance more lightly through each day rooted in gratitude. For beneath it all flows the quiet trust. Everything happens for a reason, not a reason to grasp, but a reason to meet each moment as teacher, as gift, and a may. And so, joy and sorrow alike are met with this spaciousness. When joy visits you, savor it fully, knowing it will pass. When sorrow visits, you hold it gently, knowing it too belongs. And through this dance, life becomes more whole, not perfect, not without pain, but deeply, vibrantly alive. One afternoon, walking through the market, a child's laughter rings out pure, unguarded. You smile, heart swelling. You whisper inwardly, "May I meet life with such openness. May I walk with such wonder. May I trust the unfolding." And in this trust, a new freedom blooms, the freedom to live lightly, to love deeply, to laugh often, to bow humbly before the great mystery of it all. For in the end, you now see that everything happens for a reason is not a burden to understand, but an invitation to dance with life. And so you dance breath by breath, step by step, through the changing seasons of your days, with gratitude, with joy, with love. As the months turn to years, practice weaves itself more seamlessly into your days. No longer is everything happens for a reason, something you apply. Only in reflection it becomes the very atmosphere through which you move, an undercurrent of quiet trust, a spacious way of seeing, a willingness to meet life as it comes. You begin to notice this most clearly in the smallest of moments. A delayed train, a sudden change of weather, a forgotten item on your list. Where once frustration would have arisen, now there is space. This, too, part of the flow. Perhaps a moment to pause. Perhaps a lesson unseen. End of quote. Even when things do not go your way, the impulse to fight reality has softened. The elder monk had said, "Freedom is not in shaping life to your will. It is in dancing with life as it unfolds." End of quote. And so, dance becomes your metaphor. You move through the days with more fluidity. When the cafe is full, you stroll to another, discovering a new favorite corner. When rain alters outdoor plans, you sit by the window, savoring its rhythm. When a friend cancels a meeting, you find spaciousness in an unexpected free afternoon. Each shift becomes opportunity, not obstacle. You smile more at the unexpected. You greet change as companion, not enemy, even in conversations. This dance unfolds. When a dialogue takes an unforeseen turn, you listen more deeply, curious. When a difference arises, you breathe, honoring the other's view as part of their unfolding. The old need to win or prove has eased. You are more interested in connection than correction. This lightness, this fluid presence, deepens through simple living. You move through chores, cooking, cleaning, errands with care, not rush. Each act becomes a small meditation. Each encounter at the market, on the street, with strangers, an invitation to presence. And through this, a profound shift occurs. You no longer divide life into practice and non-practice. Life itself is the practice. The elder monk had smiled once and said, "When you can wash dishes as Buddha, eat as Buddha, speak as Buddhathan, you are truly walking the path." And now you glimpse what he meant. Not that you are a Buddha, but that presence, openness, and trust can infuse any act. One morning, preparing breakfast, you feel this clearly. The texture of the fruit, the warmth of the tea, the simple movements of the body, and a quiet joy arises not because the act is special, but because you are fully there. Later, an unexpected challenge, Aravesa, work deadline shifts suddenly. The team feels stress, tension hums. You pause, breathe. This, too, is part of the flow. Rather than resist, you meet it, clarifying priorities, offering calm presence to colleagues, trusting that the work will unfold as it can. And through this, harmony is restored, not because circumstances fixed themselves, but because you did not fight them. This is the heart of the dance, to move with life, not against it, to respond with openness, not rigidity. And over time, you notice you carry less tension. You laugh more easily. You forgive more quickly. You return to presence more swiftly when thrown off balance. Even in moments of sadness or anger, this quality of flow remains. You do not force yourself to be okay. Rather, you allow the feeling its natural course held in awareness. This, too, is part of my river. The elder monk had said, "Do not grasp at joy. Do not flee sorrow. Both are waves upon the sea of being." And now, living this, you feel more whole. Life no longer needs to match a certain script. You meet it as it is. The morning sun, the aching back, the missed opportunity, the unexpected kindness, all woven into the great dance. One evening, watching a stream flow over rocks, this truth crystallizes. No part of the stream resists its path. It moves around stones. It embraces the bend. It eddies and flows, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. You smile inwardly. May I live, thus flowing, yielding, embracing what comes. End quote. And so you continue walking this path, not toward perfection, but toward ever-deepening presence. You see that making peace with each moment is not weakness. It is the highest strength. For in that peace, clarity arises, compassion deepens, joy flows naturally, and through it, life reveals its true face, a ceaseless unfolding of causes and conditions, a river with no need to be grasped, a dance meant to be danced, not controlled. You bow inwardly to this truth. Everything happens for a reason, not a reason to know, but a reason to trust, and in trusting, to flow, and so you walk on, with steadier breath, with lighter step, with heart more open to each unfolding moment. For you see now that the greatest freedom is not in mastering life, but in becoming one with its flow. Time, like the river, flows on, and as it does, you find yourself pausing more often, not from weariness, but from a deeper listening, looking back upon the path you have walked the years since that quiet visit to the mountain monastery. You see with new eyes what began as a simple curiosity, does everything truly happen for a reason, has become the very rhythm of your living, not as dogma, not as rigid belief, but as a spacious, embodied trust, a way of being with life open, present, compassionate. You sit one evening beneath a sky, brushed with twilight. The air is cool, the earth steady beneath you. You breathe deeply, feeling the weight and lightness of the years. So much has unfolded, joys unexpected, sorrows unbidden, changes unimagined. Yet through it all, the practice has remained a quiet compass within. You reflect, how many times have I faced uncertainty and found clarity by pausing to trust the flow? How many losses have softened through the lens of impermanence and unseen causes? How many frustrations have dissolved when met with openness? How many ordinary moments have become luminous through presence? And now, standing here, you know, this path is not something to complete. Oh, it is something to live, moment by moment, breath by breath, for life will continue to change. More gray will touch your hair. More friends will come and go. New chapters will open. Old ones will close. Perhaps health will waver. Perhaps loved ones will depart. Perhaps the world itself will shift in ways yet unseen. And through it all, the teachings remain. Everything happens for a reason, not a reason the mind can always grasp, but a reason woven through the vast web of conditions, a reason that invites us not to control life, but to meet it fully with presence and trust. The elder monk had once said, "If you wish to live in peace, do not seek to master life. Seek to master the art of meeting life as it is." Endao. And this, now, you understand. The art is not complex. It is simple, though not always easy. It is the art of pausing, breathing, seeing clearly, responding with wisdom. It is the art of bowing to the unknown, of releasing the grip of certainty, of trusting that even in the midst of not knowing, life carries its own intelligence. You smile softly, for this is not a passive way of being. It is dynamic, engaged, awake. It is meeting life with the fullness of your humanity, feeling joy without clinging, feeling sorrow without drowning, acting with compassion even amid uncertainty, loving with courage even amid impermanence. And in this, you have discovered a surprising truth. That peace is not the absence of difficulty. It is the presence of trust. Trust in the great flow. Trust in the unfolding of causes and conditions. Trust in your own capacity to meet each moment with clarity and care. You breathe this in deeply, and you know there will be days ahead when the mind forgets, when old fears rise, when the heart contracts. This, too, is part of the path, and when it happens, you will remember, this, too, happens for a reason. Even forgetting is part of learning. I can begin again. Here, now. This humility is itself a great freedom. The freedom to be imperfect. The freedom to grow. The freedom to meet life freshly, again and again. And so, you ask, how shall I carry this practice forward? Through all the seasons yet to come, the answer arises. Quiet and clear, live simply, stay present, trust the unfolding, act with love, and remember you are part of the great river. There is nowhere else to be but here. You smile deeply, for you see now that life is not a problem to solve. It is a mystery to dance with. And in this dance, everything belongs. The laughter and the tears, the gains and the losses, the beginnings and the endings, all woven into the great song of becoming. You rise, feeling the earth beneath your feet. You walk not towards some final goal, but into the living present. And as you do, the teaching breathes through you, not as words, but as way of being. Everything happens for a reason, and in trusting this, I am free. And so you walk on with lighter heart, with clearer eyes, with deeper compassion, and most of all, with gratitude for this path, for this breath, for this precious and permanent life. And now, dear one, as this shared journey draws to a close, I invite you to pause and simply be here. You have walked with me through many reflections of trust, of letting go, of meeting life as it is, of joys and sorrows, of beginnings and endings, of presence, compassion, and the quiet art of flowing with life. And now, I turn to you, your life unique, precious, unfolding moment by moment. Perhaps as you listen, you carry joys of your own relationships that nourish, passions that enliven. Perhaps you carry sorrows, losses not yet healed, uncertainties unresolved. Perhaps you stand at a threshold on the cusp of change, or perhaps you are simply seeking a deeper way to meet the life you already live. Wherever you are, whoever you are, know this. These teachings are not for the mountain monastery alone. They are for the streets and kitchens, for offices and marketplaces, for homes and hearts everywhere. You need not be a monk. You need not retreat from the world. You need only bring presence to where you are. You need only meet this moment there. Now, with openness, for everything happens for a reason, is not a belief to cling to. It is a way of seeing, a lens of trust, of humility, of compassion. And you can bring this way of seeing into every corner of your life. When the alarm rings too early, breathe. This, too, is part of the flow. When traffic slows your commute, breathe. Perhaps this pause serves unseen purposes. When a loved one speaks harshly, pause. What causes and conditions move here? How can I meet this with care? When plans dissolve, when health shifts, when relationships change, return to trust. This, too, arises from infinite threads. I do not need to control it. I can meet it with presence. And enjoy so. Do not forget the joys. Practice meeting them fully. The warmth of sunlight, the taste of good food, the laughter of a friend, the quiet of a restful evening. Let gratitude flow not from forcing, but from seeing how wondrous this moment woven from countless causes. And here I am, breathing it in grat. And when life feels heavy, when grief or fear visits, remember, you are not alone in this. Every heart walks this path. Every being meets change and loss. Every wave passes in time, and you can return again and again to the ground of presence. Here is breath. Here is body. Here is this moment alive. I trust that even the hard seasons carry unseen seeds. As the elder monk once said, often, the darkest soil nourishes the brightest blooms. So be gentle with yourself. Be patient with your unfolding. You need not rush to get it right. You need not force perfect wisdom. The path is not a race. It is a way of walking, one breath, one step, one moment at a time. And as you walk, you will forget, you will falter, you will be swept at times by old habits. This, too, is part of the dance. When it happens, smile inwardly. A forgetting arises. I can return. Here, now, and in this returning, wisdom deepens. Compassion grows. For this is the true heart of the teaching. Not to master life, not to avoid sorrow, not to seek constant joy, but to meet whatever comes with openness, with courage, with trust in the unseen weaving of life. And so, dear one, as we part for now, I leave you with this gentle invitation. Live with presence, love with compassion, walk with trust. Know that everything happens for a reason, not a reason to grasp, but a reason to meet life fully, as it is, here and now. And as you do, may your days be touched by deeper peace, by spontaneous joy, by a heart ever opening to this precious and permanent life. Remember, you do not walk alone. We are all rivers flowing toward the great ocean, each carrying unseen stories, each part of the great dance. So walk lightly, walk kindly, walk in trust. And in doing so, may you discover again and again that this moment, this breath, this life is enough, is whole, is sacred. Thank you, dear one, for walking this path with me. May your journey ahead be blessed, and may you meet us ever with an open heart. Dear one, we have now walked this gentle path together, breath by breath, moment by moment. Perhaps some words touched you, perhaps some drifted by like clouds. Both are welcome, for this was never about getting it right, and nor about arriving at some final understanding. It was about being here, fully present, with whatever arose. And now, as this time together draws to a close, I invite you once more to rest in the simplicity of this moment. You do not need to hold on to any teaching. You do not need to remember everything that was said. You do not need to strive to be more awakened or at peace. And Trust that whatever seeds were meant to be planted have already been planted. And trust that in their own time, in their own way, they will blossom. Perhaps tonight, perhaps weeks from now, perhaps when you least expect. There is no rush. There is no race. You are exactly where you need to be. And life, yes. Life itself is unfolding just as it must. So as you drift now, perhaps into sleep, perhaps back into the gentle rhythm of your day, I invite you to carry this one simple knowing with you, that everything happens for a reason, and that within each momento, ever ordinary, however mysterious, there is an invitation to trust, to soften, to open. You do not walk alone. All beings walk this path of becoming, each of us learning, each of us unfolding. So may you be kind to yourself, patient with your journey, gentle with your heart. And as life continues to ebb and flow, may you meet it again and again with presence, with compassion, and with the quiet trust that this, too, belongs, that this, too, is part of the great dance. Thank you, dear one, for walking this path with me tonight. May you rest well. May you be at ease, and may the river of your life carry you gently, wisely into all that is yet to come.